Welcome, gents. The things that make you different are the things that make you powerful. Sigma males, you're the ones who don't fit into neat little boxes. You're not trying to lead, follow, or play by anyone else's rules, and that's exactly why people notice you. But notice doesn't always mean love. In fact, it often triggers something uncomfortable in others. Your independence, your quiet confidence, and your ability to live life on your own terms can make people uneasy. You make them confront their own insecurities because they see what they lack. But instead of fixing themselves, they try to tear you down. On the flip side, your authenticity draws people in like a magnet. You're the type who doesn't seek validation, yet others crave your approval. There's a mystery to you that they can't quite figure out, and that makes them obsessed. Your strength doesn't come from loud declarations. It comes from your actions, your mindset, and the way you live unapologetically. You redefine what it means to be a man, not through aggression or dominance, but through independence, integrity, and quiet power. So if you're a Sigma male, know this: the hate, love, and obsession people feel toward you are all reflections of their own limitations. You challenge their norms, make them question their own paths, and force them to confront their weaknesses. And that's exactly why they can't stop thinking about you. Want to dive deeper into 11 things why people hate, love, and obsess over Sigma males? Let's get started, gents. Number 1, you're rare, and rare things are always obsessed over. You're not like anyone else, and that's exactly what makes you so captivating. The moment people meet you, they realize you don't fit into any neat little category. You're not a follower, you're not a traditional leader, and you definitely don't let yourself be defined by society's labels. You exist outside the boundaries people use to make sense of the world, and that unpredictability makes you impossible to figure out. This makes people obsessed with you, whether they admit it or not. The human mind loves to categorize, loves to make sense of things by placing them into boxes, but you're the exception to the rule, and that throws people off. They try to make sense of you, they try to figure you out, but the more they try, the more they realize they never fully can. And that drives them crazy in the best possible way. The rarer something is, the more value people place on it. And you, in all your uniqueness, are rare. People are drawn to what they can't have, and they can't control or predict you. They can't put you into a box, label you, or use you to fill any specific role in their life. And that makes you incredibly valuable. You don't have to try to stand out. You just do naturally because you're one of a kind. In a world full of copies, you're the original. And when people realize that, they can't help but be fixated on you. Your authenticity becomes magnetic. People either respect you for it or resent you because they can't get what they want from you. But no matter where they land, they can't ignore you. You're a rare thing, and rare things are always obsessed over. And you'll always be a mystery that people can't resist trying to solve, even if they never will. Number 2, you make people question everything they thought they knew. You have this uncanny ability to make people question everything they thought they knew about life, themselves, and the way things should be. It's not about forcefully challenging them, but more about quietly existing in your own truth. Your independence, intelligence, and the way you navigate life on your own terms naturally shatter the traditional narratives they've always clung to. People who once mocked the idea of being self-sufficient start to secretly admire it, even if they're not ready to admit it. They see how it gives you power, peace, and freedom, things they've always wanted but never thought possible. Your approach to life, free from the need to follow rules or adhere to expectations, creates an undeniable contrast to the constant buzz of society's pressures. Those who once scoffed at deep thinkers now find themselves craving that very depth, wishing they could think beyond the surface as you do. They find themselves looking at you with awe, trying to understand how you arrived at a place where you don't need external validation to know your worth. It makes them uncomfortable, sure, but it also sparks something inside them, a hunger for more than just surface-level existence. The real magic? You don't even try to change anyone. Just by being yourself, you set a mirror up to people's lives and force them to confront what they've been avoiding. Those who thought they had life all figured out start questioning their choices, their relationships, their values. You're not out to lecture or preach, you simply exist as living proof that there's another way. And for some, that's the most uncomfortable truth they'll ever face. Even those who resist change the most. find themselves slowly shifting, drawn to something deeper, more authentic. And whether they want it or not, your presence in their lives is the catalyst for transformation. You don't just leave a mark. You make people rethink their entire narrative, pushing them to evolve in ways they never expected. Number 3, your silence says more than most people's words. Your silence carries a weight that words can't touch. You don't need to say much to make an impact. A single look, a slight pause, or a moment of detachment from you is enough to send people into a spiral of overthinking. It's like the air shifts around you and everyone starts wondering, what did I miss? In a world where most people blurt out their thoughts to fill the silence, you make silence feel like its own language. And that's what messes with people. When you're quiet, it's not uncomfortable, it's magnetic. People can't help but analyze every second of your presence, trying to decipher the meaning behind it. They replay conversations with you in their heads, looking for any hint of what you were really thinking or feeling. What was that pause about? Why did you look away at that exact moment? What does that silence really mean? They can't help it, and it drives them crazy. It's this mysterious, almost effortless ability to communicate without saying a word that creates intrigue. You don't need to speak to make your point. Your presence alone says everything. And the best part, you're not trying to make anyone feel this way. It's just how you are. People find themselves obsessing over what you didn't say more than what you actually did. It's like your silence becomes the loudest thing in the room. This quality of yours is part of what makes you so captivating. In a world where everyone is shouting for attention, you've mastered the power of quiet. People are drawn to you because they can sense there's depth beneath the surface. And while others might be spilling words to fill the space, you leave them wondering, questioning, and rethinking everything. And that lingering mystery is what keeps them coming back for more. Number 4, you are a mystery. They can't crack. You have this magnetic blend of warmth and distance that creates an undeniable intrigue. There's an energy about you that pulls people in, making them want to know more. But at the same time, you keep just enough of yourself hidden to keep them guessing. You're not cold, but there's something about you that's not easily accessible. You give just enough of yourself to make people feel welcomed, but never enough to let them fully see the whole picture. It's this subtle push and pull dynamic that makes you almost impossible to figure out, and that's what drives people wild. The more they try to understand you, the more they realize that they can't. You're not like anyone they've ever met. You don't fit into any convenient box or label. You defy the usual categories that people try to force others into. And that drives them crazy because deep down, everyone wants to understand things, to have answers. But with you, the answer is always just out of reach. You're the enigma that can't be solved, the riddle that no one can quite crack. People who are used to figuring others out quickly become obsessed with you. They dissect every word you say, every action you take, trying to find a clue that will unlock your mystery. They keep looking for patterns, for something to make sense of you, but it never quite does. It's like trying to put together a puzzle that's missing half its pieces. And the more they try to figure you out, the more they realize that part of your allure is that you can't be fully known. This ambiguity you exude isn't intentional, it's just who you are. And it makes you one of the most fascinating people they'll ever encounter. Because you've mastered the art of being present and engaging without ever giving away all of your secrets. You're the mystery that no one can resist, and that's exactly why people can't help but obsess over you. Number 5, you redefine strength in a masculinity way. In a world where strength is often equated with loudness, aggression, and dominance, you redefine what it truly means to be strong. You're living proof that power doesn't need to shout or force itself onto others. You embody the quiet kind of strength, the kind that commands respect without demanding it. There's no need for bravado or aggressive displays of power. Your confidence and presence alone speak volumes. Where others might feel the need to prove their masculinity through control or dominance, you show that true masculinity is about self-assurance, responsibility, and authenticity. You understand that a man doesn't need to belittle others to lift himself up. Your strength lies in your ability to stand firm in who you are without needing to put anyone else down. It's a strength that's rooted in emotional maturity and self-respect, not in asserting dominance over others. You demonstrate that a man can be powerful without being loud or forceful. Your actions speak louder than any words or grand gestures ever could. People feel the impact of your presence without you needing to try. Your sense of independence is not about distancing yourself from others or acting out of bitterness. It's about knowing your worth and not needing anyone's validation to confirm it. You're not trying to prove anything. You simply are. And that is where your true power lies. The way you move through the world, handling challenges with calm resolve and navigating relationships with respect, shows that masculinity doesn't need to come with a side of aggression. You prove that men can be kind and powerful, gentle and strong, humble and proud. In a world obsessed with outdated ideas of masculinity, you offer something much more compelling, a vision of strength that's balanced, grounded, and truly powerful. And that's why people can't help but admire you. They see a different kind of masculinity, one that doesn't need to prove anything but is always silently undeniable. Number 6. You make people feel safe in their authenticity. In a world where most people hide behind masks, carefully crafted personas, and social facades, you stand as a breath of fresh air. You don't play games or pretend to be someone you're not. What you see is what you get, and that authenticity is magnetic. It's like a quiet invitation for others to drop their guards, put down the act, and simply be real. When people are around you, they feel seen in a way they don't with anyone else. No need to pretend, no need to put on a show. There's something incredibly disarming about your ability to be fully yourself, without apology, without fear of judgment. People notice it the moment they interact with you. They can tell you're not trying to impress or manipulate them into liking you. You just are. And that creates a rare space where others feel the freedom to do the same. You make them feel like it's okay to let go of the masks they wear every day, the constant need to be better or perfect in the eyes of others. With you, they don't have to filter their thoughts or emotions. They can speak their mind without worrying about what you'll think of them. And in a world that thrives on comparison and performance, that's incredibly powerful. This isn't just about being non-judgmental. It's about creating an environment where people can truly exist without the pressure of conforming to some external expectation. They feel validated in their rawness, in their imperfections, in their truth. The space you create allows them to reconnect with who they really are, not who they feel they should be. In a world that demands people to play roles and wear masks, you offer something rare, a space where authenticity is not just accepted but celebrated. And that's why people can't help but be drawn to you. They feel safe in being who they really are. Number 7. You're a deep thinker in a world of shallow distractions. In a world obsessed with trends, instant gratification, and surface-level interactions, you stand out like a rare gem. While most are scrolling through social media, chasing likes, or competing for attention in the shallow end, you're down in the depths seeking meaning, substance, and real understanding. You don't just skim the surface of life, you dive into the heart of it. And that's what makes you so compelling. People who are tired of the noise, the fake smiles, and the small talk feel an undeniable pull toward you. You have a knack for peeling back layers and cutting through the fluff. When you speak, you don't waste time with shallow pleasantries. You talk about the things that matter, the deep, the raw, the real, and those around you. They can't help but feel captivated. Because let's face it, most conversations today are nothing more than noise. Surface-level exchanges designed to fill the silence, to keep things comfortable and to avoid confrontation. But you don't settle for that. You're the person who brings up topics that make people think, reflect, and engage with ideas they might have been avoiding. You challenge the shallow narratives people hide behind and force them to confront their own truths. It's uncomfortable for some, but those who are truly looking for depth can't get enough of it. What sets you apart is that you don't need validation from others to feel seen. You're not looking for approval or a pat on the back for being different. You're just you in all your depth, exploring life's complexities and embracing the uncomfortable questions that come with it. And in doing so, you draw in those who are on the same wavelength, people who are tired of the surface-level game and want to explore the richness beneath it all. In a world of distractions, you're the kind of person who reminds others that there's so much more beneath the surface if they're willing to dig deep enough. And that's why people gravitate toward you. They're craving what you have, substance. Number 8, you offer presence without suffocation. There's a rare kind of energy you bring to a room, one that's magnetic without being overwhelming. Unlike those who hover, constantly seek validation, or demand attention to feel secure, you simply exist, and people are drawn to that calm, steady presence. You're not the type to flood someone's space with endless words or cling to them for reassurance. Instead, your mere presence is enough to create an atmosphere that feels both comforting and freeing. People love being around you because you offer something rare, a genuine connection without the need for constant affirmation. You make them feel seen and valued without overloading them with expectations. There's no pressure to be anything other than themselves when you're around, and that's where the magic happens. Because in a world that thrives on noise, on validation, on constant distraction, your quiet confidence offers something people crave deeply but can't always articulate: space to simply breathe. You're not in people's faces demanding their attention, but they know they can count on you to show up when it matters. When they talk to you, they feel heard. When they need advice, you give it without making them feel small or incompetent. And because you never suffocate people with your neediness or clinginess, they feel like they can come and go without obligation. That's what makes your presence so powerful. In a world full of needy personalities that drain others, you stand as a rare exception. You give people the freedom to be themselves around you without constantly feeding off them. You offer support, care, and even companionship, but you're never the one holding the leash. This balance of giving without demanding, being there without needing to be seen, creates a space where people feel both understood and liberated, and that's why they keep coming back, not because they have to, but because they want to. Number 9, your absence hits harder than most people's presence. Most people live in the constant hope of closure, of explanation, of some sort of dramatic last word. They need things to end with a flourish, emotions, confrontations, or at least some closure to seal the deal. But you don't play by those rules. When you choose to walk away, it's not an open-ended goodbye, not a drawn-out explanation, not an attempt to make everything neat and tidy. You just leave, and it's final. This ability to simply detach without dragging things out unsettles people in ways they can't quite articulate. They expect you to beg, to chase, to put up a fight for their attention or approval, even when it's clear the connection is no longer worth it. Instead, you do the unexpected. You let go without hesitation. No drama, no closure, just a quiet departure that speaks volumes. To some, that feels like a punch in the gut. There's a vulnerability in being left behind that most people can't handle because it challenges the narrative they've built around themselves. They expect closure, answers, or some sort of finality that will let them move on without feeling abandoned. But with you, they're forced to reckon with the uncomfortable truth. You don't need them. You were never dependent on their validation. And now, you're walking away without a second thought. This sends shockwaves through their entire system. People who once admired your strength and independence start to resent it. It makes them confront the fact that they've always relied on constant external approval and validation while you just exist on your own terms. And when that resentment sets in, it can turn admiration into hostility. The very thing they were drawn to in you, your independence, becomes the thing they can't stand. And in the end, your absence doesn't just go unnoticed. It's felt deeply, as if you've taken something irreplaceable with you. The truth is, your detachment doesn't just leave a void, it leaves a mark that's hard to erase. Number 10, you're an unapologetic mirror of their insecurities. Most people spend their lives avoiding the truth about themselves. They build a comfortable illusion, surrounding themselves with distractions, validation, and people who won't challenge their fragile self-image. Then you walk in, calm, confident, and completely unfazed by the social games they play. And suddenly, their illusion starts to crack. You don't have to say a word. Your very existence forces people to see themselves more clearly. Your independence reminds them of how dependent they are on others for validation. Your confidence highlights their self-doubt. Your ability to move through life without begging for approval makes them question why they've spent so much energy trying to fit in. And instead of facing that uncomfortable truth, they turn on you. It's easier to call you arrogant than to admit they lack self-confidence. It's easier to call you cold than to recognize their own emotional dependence. It's easier to blame you for making them feel small than to accept that those feelings were already there. You just made them impossible to ignore. But here's the real kicker. You're not even trying to expose them. You're just being you. You're not out to prove anything, not trying to make anyone feel inferior. You simply refuse to shrink yourself to make others feel comfortable. And that's what really gets under their skin. Some people will admire you for it. They'll see you as proof that it's possible to live without fear, to trust yourself fully, to walk through life without constantly looking over your shoulder for approval. They'll be inspired to fix their own insecurities instead of resenting you for exposing them. But others? They'll hate you for it. They'll project, gossip, and even try to tear you down, not because you've done anything wrong, but because you remind them of everything they could be if they had the courage to face themselves. And that's why, no matter what, they can't ignore you. Number 11. You're a living proof that there's another way. Most people live by an unspoken rule. Do what everyone else is doing and you'll be fine. Follow the script. Go to school, get a job, fit in, don't question too much. Stick to the approved path and life will reward you with stability and acceptance. That's what they've been told, that's what they believe. Then they meet you. You don't follow the script. You live by your own rules, carve your own path, and somehow not only do you survive outside the system, but you thrive. That messes with people's heads. Because if you can do it, then maybe, just maybe, everything they've been told about life isn't the only truth. You don't have to preach. You don't have to convince. Your existence alone is enough to make people question their own limitations. Some will admire you for it. They'll look at your independence and think, why am I so afraid to go after what I really want? They'll start questioning their choices, their fears, their blind obedience to a system that was never built for individuality. But others will hate you for it. Because if you're living proof that there's another way to succeed, then that means their excuses aren't valid. It means they could have taken risks, could have followed their instincts, could have built something for themselves, but instead, they played it safe. And nothing stings more than realizing you had the power to break free, but chose not to. So they lash out. They call you reckless, lucky, unrealistic, anything to dismiss the possibility that you might actually be onto something. But deep down, they know the truth. You aren't proof that life is easy. You're proof that life is yours to shape, that you don't have to trade your soul for security, that you don't have to follow the herd just because it's the safest option. And whether people love you, hate you, or obsess over you, one thing is certain, they can't ignore you. In the end, being a Sigma male isn't about fitting into the world's expectations. It's about redefining what it means to live authentically. People may hate you for your confidence, your independence, and your refusal to play by the rules. They may love you for the very same reasons, drawn to your mystery and the quiet power you radiate. And yes, they'll obsess over you because in a world full of noise, you're the one who's hard to define, and that makes you fascinating. You don't need anyone's approval, and that's your greatest strength. While others try to fit into boxes, you've carved out your own path. You're a walking reminder that you don't have to be like anyone else to be valuable. Your life doesn't depend on other people's perceptions of you, and that's why you stand out. The truth is, the hate, love, and obsession you face are just reflections of how others view their own limitations. You trigger something deep in people, their own struggles with conformity, self-doubt, and fear of being different. You're not the problem. You're just a mirror they're too scared to face. So keep doing what you do best. Stay true to yourself. Keep pushing boundaries and never let the noise drown out your own voice. You're rare, you're powerful, and the world can't help but take notice. Embrace it. And remember, the more they try to define you, the more you show them why they can't. Keep thriving in your own space. Thank you for watching, gents, and God bless you.